Could you imagine spending years building your business, like putting in all the efforts, finally getting it to the place that you wanted, just starting to experience the fruit of all your labors, and then having it all like stripped away from you because of one incident? Well, this happens too often in the business environment. And today we're going to talk about how to avoid this, how to protect your business, how to protect yourself, and avoid these kind of terrible incidents, or at least protect yourself from them. Well, today we're talking about how to protect your business, right? Because too many people, they work their lives away building a great business only to have it like all taken away from them because of just like one incident. And many times these things could be avoided. So today I have a special guest with me, Reagan Vancinas. Reagan has managed over $1 billion of financial transactions and business transactions, legal transactions for entrepreneurs, small to mid-sized companies, and also churches and nonprofits. And so Reagan, you're an attorney and you're also a great friend. So thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I think this is such an important topic for people to understand, especially entrepreneurs and business owners as they're getting going and growing. There's some really simple, easy things they can do to protect their success. Hashtag protect their success.
Absolutely. And, I don't think most people, Reagan, would use the word passion to describe the way they feel about the law and like the legal side of their business. But I would say that you're actually very passionate about this work. So can you tell me why that, tell our audience why that is, and maybe a little bit about your story?
Sure. Well, for one thing, Harrison, I don't know if you know this, but the law in the U.S. is based completely on the Bible.
Wow.
Which is awesome. And I love the Bible. We all know I'm very passionate about that. But what I'm really passionate about is helping my clients meet their goals and protect their success. And that is done with legal work. So, I mean, you could say I'm passionate about legal work or about the law, but really it stems from the passion of helping my clients achieve their goals and then also protecting their success. Because like you said, you can build for 5, 10, 20 years, have a very successful business, and one accusation, even if it's not correct or right or anything, can bring a whole company down if you don't have certain systems in place. And the scripture says it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. And none of us got into entrepreneurship and business to do paperwork, to do a bunch of paperwork, right? But a little bit of paperwork, a little bit of the right paperwork with the right advice can save you. It can save your whole life and your whole legacy. So to me, it's not, we got to fix those little foxes so that the vine isn't spoiled. So yes, I have been a lawyer for 20 plus years. I have helped businesses of all sizes, a lot of churches. Churches has been my main focus. But in the last several years, I have started really working more with entrepreneurs and small business owners, small and mid-sized business owners, or big business owners, depending on how you see it. And one of the things I've noticed when I came into this world is that a lot of people have built their businesses as what Proverbs would say is a city without walls. And so the Bible says that a city without walls is defenseless and open to attack, vulnerable to attack. Wow. And a lot of people I noticed either they don't know how exposed they really are, or they do know they're exposed, but they're afraid, they don't know where to turn for that. And so, either of those groups are not in a great position. It was amazing to me when I met these very successful entrepreneurs, and they didn't have just some basic legal frameworks in place for their businesses. I mean, it's millions and millions of dollars exposed and really their legacy, in my opinion. So, yeah, so that's my background. And yes, I have overseen, I couldn't believe it when I added up, over $1 billion of business transactions by God's grace. And I'm very humbled to be able to say that.
Well, look, all of our audience, everybody, we're so grateful to have you on the program. And this is so important because I'm a trader and, an investor. So one of the things that I've learned about trading is that look, you can have a strategy where you're going and making, pretty consistent money every day or every week, depending on, the kind of terms of your investment. But if you don't have, if your strategy allows for a catastrophic scenario, then you can wipe out all of your profits in, one day for all of your work for the past years. Yeah. Right. And if you're not protected from that kind of thing in your strategy, if you don't have a stop loss in place or if you don't have something that can protect you, then you're wow, I just did all of this stuff, and I thought I was on a good track, but because I was exposed, I missed all at once. So this is like really important stuff. It's the same way in business.
Yeah, I can give you two real quick examples, real life examples.
Wow.
We'll change the names to protect the innocent,
Okay.
but there's a woman, we'll call her Susan, okay? Susan was a stay-at-home mom, but she was really good, or she is actually really good at interior design, and so she got like a good reputation in her neighborhood for helping her friends, like, you know, reorganize, like redo their living rooms and their kitchens and their bedrooms and whatnot. So she was at a neighbor's house and giving her a quote to redo her living room, get her some new drapes and some new furniture. Very, very simple thing, right? Well, while she was there, she happened to knock over the neighbor's vase. It just so happened that that vase was a family heirloom, antique. It just so happened that that vase was worth $100,000. Could you even imagine? Well, unfortunately, Susan never got legal advice up front about how to protect herself, how to protect her assets, how to protect what she was doing in her business. And so she actually had to pay $100,000 out of pocket. So she didn't have $100,000 laying around, so she had to drain her bank account and take a second mortgage out on her house.
Holy cow.
With less than $2,000 and a little bit of legal advice, she could have stopped all of that while also not having to pay for the vase, while also preserving her relationship with this neighbor, and also probably being able to still do business with this neighbor.
Wow.
So a lot of people have a hard time, I don't know why, paying legal fees up front when, you know, when they think their business and everything is going good, but it's some of the best money you can ever spend. I have another acquaintance that she is in a dispute with one of her vendors that she believes owes her a bunch of money and they believe something else. And, you know, that's a good example of she's built this business over 5-10 years. She thought she was in a good position. She had great, you know, great cash position. And now she's in a lawsuit and it's literally draining her.
Wow.
It's draining her and she may go out of business because of it. And it doesn't have to be that way. Again, with some simple things in place, you can protect yourself from these types of situations.
Wow. Wow. I know there's just countless, too much and unnecessarily. This is happening, you know, to business owners. And so if you could advise our listeners, like Reagan, what are, like, just to focus on, like, you know, 3 or 4 things this year, right, that they could do that would protect their business, like, what would you tell them? Maybe start with the most important and work your way through them.
Sure. Well, Harrison knows this because I've told him this before, but I think, you know, KISS, keep it simple, sweetheart. Okay. So when I thought through what are the big 3 things that business owners need to do, I call it the CIA. You know, the CIA says their motto is stop threats before they start. Okay. So we have a CIA for your business too, and it's your company setup, your insurance, and your agreements. So your company setup, if you have the right company setup, that protects your personal assets. And I'm sure most of your listeners know this. With the right company setup, for example, Susan, if she had an LLC set up or a corporation set up, she wouldn't have had to pay for that vase out of her personal assets.
Right.
Okay, so a company setup, it protects your personal assets. It also can, as you know, Harrison, save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on taxes.
Right.
Thank you, Jesus, if done properly. So, and obviously having more money and more income helps you grow your business and expand. So that's number 1, is get the right company set up. And a lot of people have LLC set up, but they don't understand, or they aren't aware of, maybe I should say, how making what's called the S-Corp election can help save them so much money in taxes. So that's a big thing. So talk to your attorney or your CPA about that. That's a really...
Yeah, so if you're operating out there as a sole proprietorship or even worse, as a partnership with somebody, and you're not established as a separate legal entity like an LLC or an S-Corp or a C-Corp, something, then you're really exposed. Like your personal assets, your home, your
savings account, your retirement account, your cars, your kids, your
all these things,
furniture,
are exposed to the liabilities of your company.
That's right.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
That's exactly right. And that, you know, under the law, a separate legal entity, which is like a corporation or an LLC, a partnership isn't one, a sole proprietorship isn't one. But if you have a separate legal entity, only that entity is like a separate person under the law. So that person, so to speak, is responsible for its own debts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which means all of your personal assets are protected. By God's grace, Susan should have had this in place.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So CIA, we're protecting against unforeseen threats.
Yes.
All right. So
it protects your personal assets.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's the I?
I is insurance. Guys, insurance for small business owners or big business owners can be your very best friend. I really feel like this is an area where, again, I see so many holes with business owners. I've had small business owners say, I didn't even know business insurance was a thing, which almost fell off my chair when I heard that. I've had other business owners say, oh, well, I'm required to have a policy because I rent my building or own my building. Well, thank God, but that's not what everything they need, right? I had a client recently say, oh, hey, I bought this policy online. Can you check and see if it protects us? Which I really appreciated the vote of confidence, but that is not the way to buy insurance. Insurance, guys, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you have the right kind of insurance for your risks, for the risks that are involved in your business, typically they have a legal duty to hire you a lawyer, pay your legal fees, and then pay your settlements. Now, Harrison, imagine with me for a minute, if somebody came to your and Eileen's business and said, and sued you, and you had you didn't have the right kind of insurance, or you had no insurance,
Right.
you have to hire a lawyer, you have to pay all your legal fees, and then you have to pay the settlement. Can you imagine the stress?
Yeah.
Like
100%.
level 1,000, right? Instead, if you have the right insurance in place, they have the duty to do all that for you. You can just go to sleep at night and not worry about it. Let your insurance company worry about all that, and you keep running your business. In fact, again, I have another client. She is having a legal dispute right now, and I didn't know she was having this legal dispute. I was helping her with something else, and she was complaining to me about the legal bills. And I said, well, have you turned it over to your insurance? And she said, no, I didn't know I could even do that.
Wow.
I said, turn it over to your insurance. They have to pay your legal bills. And she was so shocked and so surprised. But boy, what a relief. I mean, you can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And proper insurance, I mean, we think about this with health insurance, right? A lot of times it's not about like, just paying a premium so that you can go for your checkups and like cover your regular expenses. Like we're talking about catastrophic coverage here.
Yeah.
Like, just like, hey, just make sure that you're covered for like the catastrophic things that could happen that could really distract your focus or your attention from your business, or could like mess you up financially. So insurance, like what a beautiful world we live in that insurance exists. Was it Benjamin Franklin who came up with this idea? I don't know, but thank you, Benny, or whoever did, because it's a brilliant thing to be able to say, hey, let's share the catastrophic things that can happen, through insurance.
Yeah, I love what you said about distracting your focus, because I think that insurance protects against accidental financial loss, right? So it protects your financial assets. But I think as important, it protects you from getting distracted.
Yeah.
Because when you can turn something over to another party to handle disputes for you and problems, you can keep focused on your business. And how much money can you put on that?
Yeah, it's like Reagan was saying earlier. Like you didn't get into business, so that you could be, filling out paperwork.
Yes.
But you didn't get into business so that you could be like managing lawsuits and all this stuff all the time.
Yes.
Like, that's and as as your business grows, the potential for these types of things are more and more. So it's not how you want to spend your time, right?
Exactly.
It's not what you want to be absorbed with.
Exactly. It's very stressful, guys, when you get into a legal dispute. Believe me, it is very stressful.
Yeah. And it's not always your fault, Sometimes people just come with a lawsuit. I mean, the first time I ever had a lawsuit affect me, Eileen and I had bought a condo, and in this condo we had a tenant in there, and we were so happy. We were getting more money from the tenant than we had to pay on our mortgage, and we were bringing all this stuff until somebody in the condo association decided to get into a dispute with their neighbor.
Yikes.
And the condo got drug into it and had to spend all of the money on legal fees. And then we
Sorry.
get sent a bill for $25,000 for a special assessment. We were like a year married, and $25,000 was like everything we had to come up with this thing. And it was just, but anyway, just a nightmare of what can happen. And so thank God for insurance that can protect against these kind of things.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. I think it's important for business owners to assess what kind of risks they have, and then talk to a broker about those risks to insure against the risk. So sometimes, business owners will buy a general liability policy and think that's all they need. But if they're producing a lot of content, or they have, their clients' credit cards that they're storing, or credit card information, or other things, there's other risks that you have that could create financial burden for you later, or lawsuits that you need protected from later. So it's a really good idea to just sit down, take an hour, think through what those risks are, and then go to your insurance broker and figure out how to protect against those risks. Make sure you have the right kind of policies. Actually, I had a church client who had a potential sexual misconduct concern. And I said, well, do you have sexual misconduct insurance? Which, by the way, if any pastors are listening, you all need it, okay? And he goes, oh, yeah, I have that. I said, great, then turn this matter over to your insurance. And he did, and the insurance said, oh, no, we excluded that. You have no coverage. You're completely exposed. Wow. And I say that because even in business, you may be surprised. You might think you have coverage for a certain type of claim or certain type of risk that you have, but you really need to understand with your broker. I mean, insurance policies are horrible to read. They're very hard to understand. So really work with your broker to make sure that your risks are protected.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, Reagan is saving you so much money right now and so much focus, and so much peace of mind. I think, that's like just having that peace of mind. So we talked about having the right company set up.
Yep.
Talked about insurance, the CI, now the A.
Yes.
What's the A about?
The A is your agreements.
Okay.
So having good, first of all, guys, have agreements in writing, okay? I know we all like to have handshake agreements and we love each other and everything's great and wonderful. But guys, having agreements in writing is going to stop disputes down the road and save you so much time, so much money, and actually relationship. Because when you get into a relationship with somebody, whether it's a vendor or a customer, having the expectations and obligations written down right up front so both parties understand, it just saves so much up front. And, I have been a part of small deals and part of what I would consider some really big and cool deals that, everyone in the U.S. is very aware of. These big deals don't happen without written agreements. Yeah. And those written agreements have helped establish great relationships and mutual understandings between the parties. And so both parties are meeting their goals and everyone's happy. And then if there's a dispute, the agreements say how we're going to handle the dispute, which is great, because everyone's aware right up front what is going to happen. One of the things, do you mind if I
go, please? Yeah.
Say a few other things about agreements? I have a couple of entrepreneur clients who unfortunately had hired other lawyers to draft their agreements. And one of the things that I've seen out there from other lawyers, I don't know why you do this, okay, is they draft these long, very complicated, no one can understand agreements. Yeah. And I just philosophically don't agree with that, because first of all, if they're very long, no one's going to read them. If they're complicated legal language, people aren't going to read them and can't understand them. And so when I saw these agreements, these entrepreneur friends of mine who became clients, they thought they were being protected.
Right.
Man, it broke my heart, because these contracts did the opposite of that. And I don't think, again, business owners don't get into business to read a bunch of contracts and have a bunch of paperwork. But guys, you need to read your contracts. You need to make sure they're clear, and you as much as you can, make sure that they have some basic protections in place. If you have a lawyer that writes really long, really boring agreements, guys, find somebody new. Agreement should be simple, in plain English, and as short as possible for what you're doing. So there are 4 big things, guys, that I think almost every contract should have in them. And that is a liability limitation. So Harrison, did you know that you can limit in your contract how much someone can sue you for?
Oh, I love that.
I know, isn't that great? People don't know that. You can say hey, if you're going to be in a relationship with me in business, you can only sue me for this much.
Wow.
Great, right? So liability limitation, that's a big one, guys. Then class action lawsuit protection. So if you have a bunch of clients, you can put in your agreement with them that they cannot get together and sue you all together, which is a big thing. I'll tell you a story about this in a minute. Then you can, another clause that I would definitely have is a arbitration clause that requires any disputes to remain confidential. Because guys, a lot of times in business, one of the biggest assets we have is our reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
And if people know that there's a lot of disputes or clients are unhappy or they're suing you or you're being sued, that can destroy your reputation. So having a clause that requires disputes to be confidential and done in arbitration, it can save your whole business.
Yeah, it's so important. Like the Bible's like, flee the appearance of evil.
Yes.
It's not just like the evil itself, but it's just like even if it looks bad,
Yes.
It's not good to be associated with. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And by the way, in America, anyone can sue you at any time for any reason they want. Most of the time, guys, you didn't do anything wrong as far as you're concerned.
Yeah.
You had the best intentions, the best heart, you produced the best product, you did everything the best you could. Not everyone's going to agree with you all the time.
That's true.
And then the last clause that I would encourage all of you to consider including in your agreement is what's called a choice of forum clause. And a choice of forum clause lets you pick where someone's going to sue you. So in other words, Harrison, for your business, you would always want someone to sue you, God forbid, in Houston, Texas. Right?
Houston, Texas.
You don't want
Good
them
old
suing you in New
Texas.
York, New York.
Right.
You don't want them suing you in, Portland, Oregon. Can you imagine the expense of having to manage a lawsuit out of state or even out of your own neighborhood?
Right.
It's so expensive. So you can pick. You can say, hey, like all lawsuits on this matter, even if your client's in England, doesn't matter. It has to be handled in Houston, Texas. So those are the big four things that you want to see. Make sure, talk with your attorney, talk through these things. They can really protect your business. There's a case out of Colorado where this couple had a very successful coaching program, and they were sued after many, many years. A bunch of their clients got together, sued them in a class action lawsuit, sued them in Texas, sued them for $30 million, and they sued them in a public court.
Wow.
And I don't know what was in their agreements. I have no idea. But I don't think any of these things were.
Yeah.
Because if they were, they would have had to sue them in Colorado. They would have had to sue them individually. They would have had a cap on how much they could have sued them. So it just would have helped them a lot.
Wow. Well, how many of you out there, listeners, are so grateful to be able to learn from Reagan, just like the little things you could do, like just maybe any of these things you've talked about, like could be implemented, in a week, right?
Absolutely.
They could sit down and work on the C and the I and the A,
Yeah.
and get it all kind of lined up and just remove all that exposure that's out there in their business. So we're so grateful for you for coming on the show and for sharing this really valuable information. And Reagan, will you tell everybody, like, what are you up to right now? What's your kind of passion project that you're working on, and how can people follow you and learn more about it?
Sure. So I actually have 3.
Okay. Awesome.
So I have 3 programs. One is for the coaching space. So people are business coaches, any kind of coach out there, really. It's called Street Legal Guide. And
awesome.
It's at streetlegalguide.com. And it's a legal education and training platform where you can go and learn about all these things a little further. It has 20 different agreements in there for you to peruse. All of my agreements are very, very simply written, as I said, in plain English.
Wow.
You can understand them. And then I have one for e-commerce entrepreneurs, which is called My Founding Partner, which you can go to that website. And if you're an e-commerce entrepreneur, it's a legal kit for you. Same thing, legal education, agreements, everything you need. And then my last one, which is probably launching in about a month, is called Strong Churches. And another legal kit and education for pastors and church leaders. There are a bunch of legal issues that I see in churches on the regular that we can very easily work through to help advance the kingdom in a better way. So those are my 3. And you can find me at Instagram. It's not a great Instagram page yet, guys, but it's just Reagan VS1, and I'd be happy to see all of you there.
Reagan VS.
Yes.
1.
That's it.
All right. Awesome. Well, every week, one thing we do on the show here is to issue the Success Challenge of the Week.
Yes.
Something practical that our listeners can go out and do, like to implement what they've learned. So it's your turn, Reagan. What is this week's Success Challenge of the Week?
Okay, business owners. this week, assess your business. Scale your business risk and protection from 1 to 10. Do you have the right setup? Do you have the right insurance? Do you have strong agreement, clear agreements with your clients, your contractors, your vendors, and your website users? Do you understand what's in these agreements? Have you read them? Do you have these basic protections that I talked about earlier? And pastors, if any of you all, if there's any pastors listening, read your bylaws and see what's in there to see if you are protected in your bylaws. Because, guys, in the world of entrepreneurship, if you are not a 10 on these issues, it's like mold growing in your walls.
Wow.
You might not know it now, but it could spell huge disaster for you in the future. So if you see weaknesses there, don't bury your head, guys. It's my guess and my experience that they're easily solvable with a little bit of education and just a little bit of paperwork.
Well, there you have it. There's your success challenge for the week. And listen, if you have any questions that Reagan or I could help you with, feel free to post them down in the comments. My team will go through there, and they love to tee up those ideas for future episodes because we just really want to bring valuable, helpful, practical content, to you that you can use. But until then, we'll see you in the next episode. Have a great week. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Great businesses and great leaders are built using effective communication. For more, go to speakingschool.com, grab my Elite Business Success Toolkit for free just for trying out our Speaking School membership. That's speakingschool.com. See you next time.